All right, guys, we're going to go over the Tool Guy Republic 45-degree brake line flaring kit. You can do single flares, bubble flares, and double flares with this kit, and trust me, these things are super easy to use. I used one of these style flaring kits for years and years, but when I bought this one, I haven't used this thing since. This type here, if you're using NICOP or if you're using aluminum, these things work fine. They're a little bit more work than this, take a little bit longer than this, and you don't always get a perfect flare like you do with this one here. So if all you can afford is this one right here, trust me, use the NICOP. Don't try to use one of these on this old hard stuff that you get from the parts store. If you're using NICOP, this stuff will work just fine. All right, let's see what we got in the box. Comes in a nice handy carrying case. And first thing you'll see is instructions, and we don't need those because that's what YouTube's for, right? All right, you got 3/8, 5/16, and 3/16 and 1/4 inch dies. Here is the main body of the tool. You'll see it's got this big lug sticking off the bottom of it. That's for clamping it in your vise. We'll do that here in just a second. And here is the handle. The handle just snaps right in. It won't fall out, so it just got a little ball detent in there, so it holds it in there tight enough to use, but when you want to take it out, you pull it right out. All right, let's clamp this thing in the vise. There we go. All right, the first thing you're going to want to do is figure out what size tube you're going to be working with. This is 3/16, this is 5/16, and this is 3/8. This kit will do all three of these, plus it'll also do 1/4 inch. All right, we're going to be using a piece of 3/16 tube, so I'm going to grab the 3/16 die. When you set the die in, it's important to put it in a lower piece like this, and then the upper piece, and make sure that both the tapered sides are facing toward the turret. Now, I'll move our clamp over and engage the lock for the clamp. Then I will take our piece of 3/16 tube and I'm going to stick it through here. And this part is important. You see how this thing's sticking out a little bit? But let's just go ahead and we will lightly clamp the die in place. And now we can take OP0 and we can push the tube so it's flush with the face of the die. And now we can cinch the clamp down and we know we're in proper position to put a flare on it. Now you'll look on this turret or barrel or whatever you want to call this piece here, it turns to put the proper operation in line with the tube. So we need OP1, which is operation 1 for 3/16. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of grease and I'm going to stick it on the end of that piece. I'll just get a little bit of grease in the end of this die right here. Hope you guys can see that. Okay, the one that I just put the grease on is OP1 for 3/16, and we're going to roll that around and put it in position. Then all we have to do is pull the handle until it stops. Boom. So now we need to find OP2, and that will be right here where this orange one is. It says OP2. 3/16 is color coded. OP1s are green, OP2 is orange. So I'm going to put a little bit more grease on this one right here. And again, I'll roll it around into position, pull the handle, and now we can take the tube out and we have a perfect double flare. Now some of you might be out there saying, well, that's just NICOP. You said I could do that with that cheap tool like I got over here. Okay, so why would I want to spend the extra money to do this? Well, number one, this thing does a perfect flare every single time. I've never had this thing make a bad flare for me, and I've had it for probably 2 years or more. So let's give it a little bit more of a challenge here. This is that old hard stuff you get from the part store. This is just steel 5/16, I believe. So let's put the die in the tool. Same deal as before. OP1 5/16. I want to put a little dab of grease on there. So let's wheel this around. 5/16. And here we go. And again, we've got a perfect double flare. And you're not going to do that with this one here, at least not that fast. Now, if you're doing fuel line, if you're doing a hard fuel line going down the frame rail of your truck, like I did on the F100 right behind the camera here, it's nice to put a little bubble on the end of this stuff, because whenever you slide a piece of rubber hose over the end of it, you need something there to help keep the hose from slipping off. We're just going to use a bubble flare as a safety precaution. So we'll do it just like we've always done it so far. And OP0, flush, and there we go. OP1 for 3/8. You know the drill. A little bit of grease. Now, this is where things are going to get different. I'm only going to do OP1 because this is where it creates the bubble flare. So let's do this. And there we go. We have a perfect bubble on the end of that. So now we can slide a piece of tube over it, and when we put our clamp on, we have that little piece of extra safety built into it. We'll put our clamp right here, and this will keep the clamp and hose from coming off. Phew, I can't even hardly get it off now. We'll try that later. All right, guys, so that's it. Like I said, perfect flares every single time. Much unlike this thing here, where you have to hope and pray that you're getting a good flare. And usually when you do get a good flare, that's when you realize that you left the nut off. So hey, then you get to do it all again. Anyway, you literally go from minutes of frustration with this type here to literal seconds of getting a perfect flare every single time with this tool. Yes, it's a little more expensive. When I say a little more, it's a lot more expensive. But this is one of those tools you're going to buy and you're going to keep it for the rest of your life. And whenever you've got it, you're going to be like, man, I'm glad I bought that thing. So I'm going to put a link to this one in the video description, and it will be an affiliate link. So I get a tiny portion, I think like 1% of the sale. It helps the channel out. It helps me make videos for you guys. Try to teach some how-to stuff. And anyway, it doesn't cost you guys a single penny extra. So if you would help support the channel, click that link, buy the tool, and we'll see what we get into on the channel next time. Thanks for watching.